Okay. So, first and foremost, what can I say apart from good morning, good morning? I wonder how it is. In fact, give me a thumbs up if you're having a great day so far. All right, beautiful stuff. In fact, I don't like this background. I want to change this background. Let me look because I'm in an office, right? Now, how do I get that virtual? How do I get that virtual screen off of my screen so it's out of my way?
Now you know you probably ain't been in a real office in years.
There we go.
I
I'm back
thought
now. I'm back.
you
So,
were sitting out on your veranda with beautiful weather every single time.
guys, do you know what? In actual fact, I can say we are experiencing beautiful weather in the UK right now. Right now, we're going through a little bit of a heat wave. It's about 28 degrees Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit today, but on Monday and Tuesday next week, we're going to be looking at 37, 38 degrees Celsius, which is scorching. Yeah, the country's going to fall apart, but hey, yeah, that's what happens when it's too hot in England. But how is everyone doing? Is everyone doing wonderful today? I've just come back from physio and I'm feeling incredible. So, yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. Guys, I've got a really interesting topic that I want to share with you today. And I think it's really pertinent because of everything we're going through. So what I'm going to ask is if everyone can put themselves on mute so we've got a nice quiet background. Yeah, Betsy, I'm not throwing any spanners at you, but I am.
Okay, yeah, I know, two of them. I'm trying to mute. Can you mute me? Yeah, you can mute me.
I can. In fact, what I'm going to do, let me give Flint control. Flint, your co-host, if you can take care of the background for me. Right. So, guys, what I want to do is talk to you today about something that I think is probably going to be very useful, bearing in mind the stage we are at life, what we're all doing, what we're going through, the challenges we face. I want to talk to you about why it's such a challenge to rewire your brain. Would you all agree it's a challenge to rewire that programming that we've experienced and that we've gone through for many, many, many years, and we're now embarking on a journey it requires a completely different set of thinking, a completely set of new skills. We're climbing Mount Everest, and right now we're at ground zero, and that mountain looks huge, right? It's not impossible, because if someone else has done it, that means you can do it too. It's about understanding how you do it, because if we approach anything we've done in life with an old skill set, an old programming, an old wiring, the likelihood is that we're going to produce a result that is similar to what we've produced in the past. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. And I just noticed something today. I've got all ladies on the call with me. The guy's not showing up. So, are any of you guys familiar with a big famous YouTuber called Tom Bellew? Anyone familiar with him? Okay. You might want to look him up on YouTube. Tom Bellew. His surname is spelled Bilyeau. He's what I call a thought leader. He has incredible interviews with some of the most influential people online, some of the most incredible people who have got stories to tell like you wouldn't believe, but who have created influence and left a fingerprint on this world. And Tom recently interviewed an incredible internet marketer, a gentleman called Tai Lopez. And what kind of steered me to this interview is Jeff Lerner spoke about something on a company call yesterday. And it made a whole lot of sense. It kind of steered me to this interview, and I listened to this interview, but I want to give you the crux of it, and then I'm going to explain why it's so difficult to rewire your brain, but why it doesn't have to be. Rick, great to have you on the call, sir. How are you feeling, Rick? Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling okay.
Doing great.
All right,
thanks.
Beautiful stuff. So, there's an incredible marketer called Tai Lopez. And what Tai Lopez likes to talk about is his success. Some people see him as controversial. I see him as incredible, because when it comes to marketing, he has got the market by the scruff of the neck. He consistently achieves incredible results. He's now in a stage of his life where he's just buying up brands, buying up some of the big major brands in the US that have started to fall by the wayside, but he's done this through being an incredible marketer. And he has fundamentally only targeted people between the ages of 18 and 25. And I kind of really didn't understand why. But then the logic behind his theory, my gosh, it makes so much sense. And then it got me to starting to look at the human mind even more, because you know I love mindset. The reason why he targets people between the ages of 18 and 25 is because at that age, believe it or not, your mind isn't fully formed. I always personally thought that your belief system developed between the ages of 2 and 8. That is partially true. So let's break a few things down and let's then circle back to why he approaches people between the ages of 18 and 25. So they say, studies say that your mind is consistently impressionable between the ages of 0 and 14. Between the ages of 0 and 8, you are absorbing, you're like a sponge, you're just taking on board information, you're sucking it in, you're taking on everything that's in your environment, which is why people often use that phrase, you're a product of your environment, right? So between the age of 0 and 8, you're just sucking in these things from your environment, your parents, your teachers, siblings, family members that are influential. You're just like a sponge. That's why children learn languages so easily, because they just suck it all in. Then between the ages of 8 and 14, what you're then doing is you're now starting to test these theories. You're working with your peers, and oftentimes you're pushing back against your parents, which is why they go through that little bit of a bit, I'll get my teeth in a moment, that little bit of a rebellious stage from time to time. But that's between 8 and 14. You're kind of finding yourself, you're testing. So I want to use an analogy that's going to make a whole lot of sense. Give me a thumbs up if you're ever a DIY person or you like to put things together. Give me a thumbs up if you like to do that. Oh gosh, I've got a bunch of other cool, brilliant stuff. So when you get a new cabinet, for example, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to take all the things out and unpack it all and then look at the instructions. That's the sensible way to do things, because even though some of us believe that we can take it out and start putting it together straight away, that's the crazy thing. And that way it always takes you longer. You think you're going to do it quicker, but it always takes you longer. But in essence, what you're supposed to do is take everything out, unpack it completely, make sure you've got all the pieces, make sure you've got all the screws, all the fixings, check your instructions, and then you start putting it together. The reason why I use that analogy is quite simple. When you unpack all of the pieces of the puzzle, that's when it takes up the most space, right? Well, that's what happens between the age of 0 and 14. Between the age of 0 and 14, you are allowing your mind to get to its capacity. Your mind is unpacking by absorbing all the information around you, taking on board everything. You're learning how to be yourself. You're learning how to grow, develop, and think for yourself. At the age of 14, your mind is at its capacity. It's unpacked everything. Between the ages of 14 and 28, you're now going through the stage of organizing all of this information that you've accumulated, assimilated, put together in your mind. You're now organizing this all. So what then happens is, when you put together all of the pieces of the package, it takes up less space. It's structured. You end up with a finished product by the age of 28. So by the age of 28, they suggest that your mind is now formed. You've become who you are, and you now go out in the world and you leave your fingerprint. Let me circle back to why Tai Lopez approaches and markets to the age of 18 and 25. Makes sense now. Your mind is not completely formed. You're still impressionable. He can still really make an influence and help you understand, hey guys, listen, you know this status quo where you go out and get a 9 to 5? I know you guys don't all believe that. I know you've already started to question and understand This is his thought process. He gets into their minds and he helps them understand, you know what, do things differently. And by taking on this thought process and agreeing and understanding that you can do things differently, let's attack this with gusto. And what then happens quite simply is, because they are impressionable and they've still understood, you know what, this does make sense. I don't like this status quo. I don't want to work till 60, 65 like my parents have and hope and pray that I've got enough for my 401k. I want to do what I need to get done and change the world. Yeah, I'm going to make it happen. And in many cases, because they've still got that testosterone flying around, they've still got that ego being formed, they attack it. And that's why you see a new age of what we call the millennials making such an impression in the world. Give me a thumbs up if this all makes sense so far. The reason why I'm circling back and talking about this today is that, would you all agree it's a challenge to rewire your brain, to rewire all of that old programming? The reason is, you now understand at the age of 28, your mind's formed. Now, I want to give you another analogy because I think it's always easier to give the understanding of why things are the way they are when you tell a story. So back in the day, and you guys will probably be able to appreciate this even more, with US being so big and so many people at one stage riding on horseback. You had the ironmongers who make the shoes for the horses, right? And when you make shoes for horses, what generally happens is quite simple. You heat up the iron and then you put it on a frame and you bang it and you put it into shape. When it's hot, it's easy to bang and change the shape. It's malleable. This is your mind before you get to 28. And the closer you get to 28, is the more time it's been dipped in the water and cooled down and the shape is starting to form. Now, when the iron's cooled, you can still bang it with the hammer and change the shape, right? But you've just got to hit it a lot harder. This is making sense now, right, guys? So after 28, this iron up here needs to be hit a lot harder. You need to smash it a bit harder with that hammer. You can still make an impact. You can still change the shape. But you've got to be a little bit more tenacious. You've definitely got to be more consistent. And man, oh man, you've got to hit it a lot harder. Now, let me give you a perfect example. And I'm actually going to get a little bit personal today. I'm going to share with you probably some stuff I've never shared with you. When you go through huge adversity or trauma or a massive shift in your life, that is like you being whacked with a hammer and then someone heating you up, and it's now easier to make you more malleable and put you in shape. This is all making sense, right? Guys, I'm going to share some stuff with you today. You guys are my Saturday family. I don't mind sharing with you. I want to talk to you about how I went from being on benefits, which is what you guys call government assistance, to earning more money than I've ever earned in my life. I'm going to share a little bit with you. And these aren't income claims. This isn't to say that the exact same thing's going to happen to you or for you, but this is to let you know that it's possible. So after my injury, you all know, I've told you, I've shared my story. It was in actual fact the miracle man from that documentary, The Secret. Who's watched The Secret? The Law of Attraction. So if you haven't, that's another one to absolutely watch. The Secret. Make a note of that. Look on YouTube for The Secret, The Law of Attraction, and it was originally created by Rhonda Byrne. Anyway, in The Secret, there's a gentleman called the Miracle Man. And what the Miracle Man did, He had a devastating airplane crash, and he ended up in the hospital, paralyzed from the neck down, and all he could do was blink his eyes, and that's the way he would communicate with the nurses. And he got their attention, and he blinked out a statement to them, "I will walk out of hospital." They had to go through the alphabet with his eyes, and he blinked, and it obviously took some time, but he blinked out a statement that I will walk out of hospital. And so shall it be said, so shall it be done. What he did, he visualized himself walking day in, day out, and he formulated that image in his mind. You guys know where I'm going with this. That's exactly what I did when I was in hospital. Miracle Man came into my mind. I knew it was possible, and I followed that script. I followed that outline. I followed that structure. And the secret is what allowed me to advance, which what allowed me to get to where I got to. Anyway, fast forward, getting out of hospital. You read that story, it's boring. I don't want to keep telling it. I was at that time in the corporate world, and because of my injury, I was off work for a year, going through physiotherapy, rehabilitation, really, really working hard on my body. Anyway, I completed and I went back to work. And the company I was with at the time, they moved the goalposts. I was in a sales environment, and they moved the goalposts massively in an attempt to what you call manage me out of the business. And this was because of my disability. And I don't know, you've got to wake up a lot earlier than that if you want to catch me. I saw what was happening, and I actually took them to a tribunal. Case was settled out of court, got a settlement. So I've now got a lump of money, not big enough to change my life by any stretch of the imagination. A lump of money to last me a short period of time, maybe a year, if that, in the manner I was living. But I couldn't go to work, and I still had bills. So I continued to pay my bills and work on what I need to do. And my money was dwindling, and the bills are continuing. And this bravado I had, this big old smiley face, letting the world know, Kev's okay, Kev's all right, I'm doing good. And I was getting deeper and deeper mentally. I'm starting to sink. The money got to the point where, man, oh man, if I don't get something happening at the end of this month, I don't know where I'm going to be. I didn't get anything happening at the end of the month. And I needed to lean on the government to support me. I'm a proud man. I've never been on benefits in my life. I took on board government assistance to get my rent paid, to get some money that I could literally buy groceries with. I could have probably got support from my family and whatnot, but as I said, I'm a proud man. I've never asked for help in my life. And at that point, I struggled to ask for help. Wanted to keep it to myself. Depression started to kick in. And you know you're starting to get depressed when you don't want to get out of bed in the morning. And then you go to a space where it gets pretty dark. The curtains stay drawn. Cell phone starts to get shut off. The days on end. You can't even find it to the bathroom 2-3 days at times. Yeah, I'm not proud. I'm going to share this warts and all. And then I spent days, as I said, with my cell phone switched off, sat on my sofa, crying into my hands, in despair. I had a really good friend, and she's still a good friend to this day. She wouldn't leave me alone. She harassed me, harangued me. When she could get my phone on, she'd ring me and ring me and ring me, and I'd send it to voicemail, and she'd ring and ring, and I'd eventually take the call, and I'd give her that BS that, yeah, I'm okay, yeah, I'm good, I've just been a bit busy. Sorry, I didn't get back to you. Yeah, she didn't fall for that nonsense. She turned up at my door and said, listen, I'm not coming in, but understand, you better be ready tomorrow. because we've got somewhere to go. And I opened my mouth to give her whatever excuse could have come out. And she just went, don't waste your breath. Just make sure you're dressed tomorrow at 9 a.m. And if you don't answer the door, you might be ordering a new front door because I will kick it off its hinges. Make sure you're ready tomorrow. That's the kind of friend you need in your life, right? Following day, she was at my door. I was ready because I knew it wasn't worth the fight. And she took me to a personal development event. And guys, something sparked in me. And I think they call it hope. And at that point, I realized, you know what? Maybe life isn't as dark as it feels right now. The speaker connected. And I went home that day, and it wasn't an instant recovery. Kind of felt a little bit, okay. Sat back in my slump. Over the course of the next 3 months, I must have witnessed 3 or 4 different events. And each event started to give me more fire, started to light the embers back in my stomach. Because that fire had never gone out. It had just been quelled. And over the course of the next 12 months, I became a self-development or personal development junkie. I went to at least 6 or 7 events. I had nothing better to do. I didn't have no job. And my friend was dragging me along, and yeah, she's from a fairly well-to-do background. She was footing the bill. And I said to her, listen, I will pay you back. She said, don't even worry about that. Listen, when you've got it, you've got it. I said, no. I want you to understand. If you help me rebuild, which is clearly what you're doing, I will get on my feet and I will make sure that I've got you. Yeah, Kev, that's not the important thing. The important thing is that I get my friend back. Because right about now, I don't recognize who you are. Anyway, over the course of the next 12 months, I became a personal development junkie. And with each event, I started to become more inspired and realize who I was again. Get back my understanding of how I could become great. And my programming, my hardwiring started to get undone and redone because I was learning from people who had been to where I wanted to go and who understood how the mind worked. And I studied NLP and I took on board the principles of personal development and I transformed my life. And that, my friends, is when I started to get coaching and go down the road of, now let me build. Now that I've had all of this crap undone, now I've started my life over, I'm on the floor, life couldn't go any worse. My physicality had been taken away from me. My corporate career had been taken away from me. The only way was up, right? But in order to go up, all right, let me give you another analogy. You know, I like to do that. When you build a house, you bought the land, you've got the plans. What's the first thing you do when you start building? You dig the footings, right? You put that footprint down, you dig the footings, you create your foundation. That's what the personal development was. It created my foundation, started to build me up and put me together. Let's fast forward to today. I've been a personal development junkie now for 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. And I still go to events consistently. In actual fact, in less than 2 weeks now, I'm going to be in Denver, Colorado at Insight. Yep, and I'm going to be giving someone a big hug when I see them. But that's because I still have to ensure I develop myself consistently. And the reason why I tell you this is, as I first started, it's incredibly difficult to rewire your brain because we're formed at 28. But if you grab your hammer and you hit hard enough, you can reshape that steel. And please don't be as drastic as I did and go through a huge life-changing incident. You don't need to put yourself in the fire like that. Even if it means you chip away at the old programming by continually banging and looking at the shape you want to be, understand it can be done. Understand that if someone else has done it before you, you can do it too. It does mean that if you're a little, how do I put this diplomatically? If you're a little bit further up the ladder, when it comes to years that you've been on this planet, you're going to have to work a little bit harder. But that's okay, because you can reshape that piece of iron. It's not impossible. What did Audrey Hepburn say about impossible? Who wants to take themselves off mute and tell me what Audrey Hepburn said about impossible? Oh, all right, I'll give it to you. Audrey Hepburn said, I'm possible. That's what impossible stands for. I'm possible. So understand that nothing that you want to achieve is beyond possible. Everything's possible. There's a couple of questions you've got to ask yourself. One, how hard are you prepared to work? And two, I'll give you a real, deep, meaningful question to ask yourself. And I will frame it by helping you understand that in life, there's always risk, correct? What you have to ask yourself is this: what's greater? The risk of staying the same or the risk of changing? When you understand the answer to that question, you'll understand whether or not you're prepared to do what it's going to take to put you on the pathway to get into where you want to go. That's the question. Now, I'm looking around the room and there isn't a single one of us here that is still 28. I know all the ladies on the call is eternally 29. That's what happens to you ladies. I understand you don't age beyond 29. Eternally 29 is okay. But my point is you're beyond 28, which means your brain's formed. Who's got a really big hammer? And you now know what I'm talking about. Who's got a really big hammer and who's prepared to whack that piece of iron really hard? Give me a thumbs up if you've got a big hammer and you're prepared to whack that iron really hard. It's going to take work. It's going to take consistency. Is it going to be uncomfortable, guys? You better believe it. Is it simple though? Yes, it's just not easy. But it can always be done. How deep are you prepared to dig? My Saturday Mindset family. How deep are you prepared to dig? I know how deep I'm prepared to dig. Hell, I was paralyzed and I can now walk again. That tells you how deep I'm prepared to dig. Understand, guys, that whatever you want to accomplish, it is literally at arm's reach. But it's about what are you prepared to do to get it there. Now, I wanted to tell you this today because when I saw that interview, it made so much sense. But it also helped me understand why personal development is an absolute must, why it's a continual process, why you must consistently work on this, because old programming will not allow you to get to where you want to go. What's that saying? What got you here won't get you there. On that note, guys, it's a beautiful day in England, and I'm going to go out and enjoy some sunshine. I don't know about you guys. In fact, most of you guys get sunshine far more than I do. But I'm going to show off a bit because we got some sunshine in England. So on that note, please, guys, understand that all Canada will be achieved one step at a time. I am truly committed to delivering as much value as possible in each and every single interaction we have. The question I will always leave you with until our next encounter, quite simply, is how committed are you to yourself? On that note, Mr. One Set, signing out. Have an incredible day, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. And I'll be back here on the same bad channel again next week. Take care. Much love, guys. See you soon. Bye-bye. Oh,